Caleb Williams is coming off a historic season that culminated in him winning a Heisman Trophy, and expectations could not be higher. Today, we're going to talk about if he is the best quarterback prospect since Andrew Luck. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the Devy Royale. Today, we are going to talk about Caleb Williams. We are in the middle of 2023 NFL draft season, and a lot of the talk has been about the quarterbacks, and rightfully so. Quarterback is the position that drives the NFL. And we have some pretty remarkable quarterbacks coming up in the 2024 class. If you have not heard, Caleb Williams, pretty good at football. Today, we're going to talk about if he is the best quarterback prospect since Andrew Luck. And I think that there's a legitimate argument to be made. I think that you can come back around and argue against it. But today, we're going to take a look at the numbers, take a look at the scouting report, and kind of talk about why some of that buzz is there. That discussion isn't, a rare thing out there, and so we're going to take a look at that. So let's get into it. So Caleb Williams, by the numbers. So 2021, he came in for Spencer Rattler when he was still at Oklahoma. He ended up playing in 11 games, only 211 attempts. This was kind of he didn't win the starting job for a while, and then when he got in there, it was kind of a tempered offense because he was still kind of trying to learn, the speed of college football, and he was still remarkable. 1,900 yards, 64.5% completion percentage, 21 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, 10.2 adjusted yards per attempt, and then a 169.6 rating. These are all remarkable numbers, especially for a freshman. I think there's a conversation to be had before we leave this video on if early production matters for quarterbacks, because I think you can argue that it doesn't a whole lot. We think of breakout freshmen that just didn't pan out at the NFL level, and we've kind of learned that snaps are king when it comes to quarterback play. But Caleb Williams was immediately a star as soon as he stepped on a football field. Now, his film that year was pretty inconsistent. You could tell that he worked with second team all through, summer camp, and really was still trying to find the rhythm of those guys. He goes to USC. We knew that the offense would expand. He was going to be the starter from day one. He plays in 14 games, 500 attempts, which is a true mark of the Lincoln Riley offense, is to throw the ball a ton. 4,500 yards, 66.6% completion percentage, 42 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 10.3 adjusted yards per attempt, and a 168.5 rating. Not a whole lot of improvement outside of, per attempt numbers, but I will say that he looked much more comfortable in the USC iteration of the offense. I think that has a lot to do with the players that were around him and, the fact that USC had to throw a lot more. There were times where Oklahoma could just run the ball in his freshman year. That was not so much the case this year at USC. Now, this we know now that he has won a Heisman Trophy for this performance. So a truly incredible year, which is why we're having these discussions today. So some other numbers: 86.5 QBR, that was top 10 in the nation, 1.8% turnover worthy play percentage, which is a remarkable number for how many attempts he had. When you look, I believe the only quarterback that had a lower turnover worthy play percentage with over 400 attempts was Tanner McKee. But Tanner McKee and the Stanford offense were a lot different than what USC was running. And most of the turnover worthy plays came on deep throws and things like that. So Caleb Williams took care of the ball at a remarkably high rate. 78.9 PFF grade under pressure. That's important because under pressure stats are something that the NFL looks at as what can you do when things break down? And Caleb Williams is a master of succeeding when plays break down. He's just a wizard with the ball. He does things that remind you of Patrick Mahomes, and I think you're going to see a lot of those comps. And I actually don't think they're that far off with how his play style is. Putting that number into perspective, though, Trevor Lawrence's last year at Clemson. And the reason I bring up Trevor Lawrence is because he was regarded as this best prospect since Andrew Luck type of guy. His PFF grade under pressure his last year was 54.5, so significantly worse. And most quarterbacks do have a really low grade under pressure. The guys who can get out and scramble a little bit tend to have higher grades. That is what Caleb did. But honestly, he throws the ball well under pressure as well. When he got blitzed, his grade did drop a little bit. I think you'll see that improvement this year, or that as a primary focus of his to improve in. 1,767 yards between the numbers. I bring that up for a very clear reason. And I mean, you're going to hear a lot of Caleb Williams isn't tall enough. He's listed at 6'1. He's probably 6 feet. He might be 6'1. He's a stocky kid, but the shorter quarterbacks, you're going to get questions on if they can throw over the middle. I've seen a lot of Bryce Young discussion lately about, how successful he is at throwing over the middle, and that's used as a reason why he may succeed at the NFL level. Caleb is the same. He can throw over the middle. A lot of the Lincoln Riley offense does operate between the numbers, and so Caleb Williams kind of mastered that there in his sophomore year. And then I did want to throw in his 24/7 sports rating, 0.9969. That's the fifth highest quarterback mark in the last few years. This incoming quarterback class, which Kevin has talked about extensively, I think he put a video out this week actually about it. They have a ton of guys in that top five as well. So we have an exciting quarterback class incoming, but Caleb is right among them as one of the highest regarded recruits in a long, long time. Let's get into the scouting report for Caleb. So the number one thing that you're going to see for Caleb is how great he is off platform. The stuff that he's able to do when he gets outside the pocket, he makes some absolutely absurd throws that shouldn't even really be possible. He'll roll to his left and throw across his body and still put, probably 50 miles an hour on the ball, which is just insane. Probably more than 50 miles an hour, actually. He can zip the ball no matter how his body is torqued. There's a clip I think Ray GQ on Twitter shared recently of Caleb throwing a 50 plus yard jump pass, which is something, that's why the Mahomes stuff is coming up, because his play style, he very much so models his game off of some of the things that Patrick Mahomes is able to do. And those are the things that make Patrick Mahomes incredible. There is no play that is ever out for him. I mean, if you can contain him and keep him in the pocket, I think that's your best bet. But even then, he's got the ability to scramble, which is the next point, the rushing threat. He can, run up the middle as well. And he's a very skilled runner in space. He's not the fastest dude. He definitely runs more like a running back, but his open field vision is that of a running back. And it's really impressive what he's able to do with his legs. And then I brought it up, but arm talent, this kid just makes ridiculous throws. He's got incredible zip on the ball. That was actually a question I had after his freshman year in Oklahoma, but he really took to whatever strength program he's in, because that arm strength really just shot up in his sophomore year. Freshman year, I think it was a lot of timing things that he struggled with. He was putting too much air under his football. And so there were times that there were 40-yard passes that fell short. And I was seriously questioning what Caleb was going to be. He squashed all that his sophomore year. He can make literally any throw on the football field, and that's important, especially when we talk about the upside of a quarterback. Some of the negatives, though, patience and structure. I think that he tends to get antsy because he knows that Lincoln Riley is not going to, punish him or get mad at him for going and making a play outside of structure. But you'd like to see a little bit more patience within a pocket. I think NFL teams are going to want to see that this year. And if he can start to dice people up from in the pocket, as well as offering all these things outside of the pocket and off platform and things like that, that's when you're going to start to hear those Andrew Luck comparisons, because Andrew Luck was probably the smartest football player that I've seen in a long time. Bryce Young's right up there as one of the smarter dudes, but Caleb Williams, if he's able to do those things, I think you can argue that Caleb has more raw talent and he's starting to put it all together, right? So that comes into the next point of weakness, just lack of snaps. I mean, he's only played in 25 total games so far. This year's going to be telling, and I think how he handles these lofty expectations and these Patrick Mahomes comparisons and this Andrew Luck discussion, and then he's going to get the Trevor Lawrence stuff. How he handles that is really going to be telling on what his true upside is. But as of right now, I think I'd be comfortable saying he is the best quarterback prospect since Andrew Luck. Just some of the things that he's able to do. Most quarterbacks can't do what Caleb Williams can do. Not Drake May. You're going to hear a lot of, Drake May is the better quarterback. I can't get there. From a productivity standpoint, Drake May isn't close, but even setting that aside and just looking at what type of talent Caleb has, it supersedes anything that Drake May has. And I'm a big Drake May guy, so you'll start to hear that, and then you're gonna start to see maybe as we get down to this last month before the NFL draft, talk about teams, kind of tanking for Caleb. I think that that's a viable option. It's really tough to tank in the NFL. We saw that with the Houston Texans last year, but man, it's really hard to look at what Caleb Williams put on film as a true sophomore and say that kid's not going to be a top 5 quarterback in the NFL at some point. So obviously, I love Caleb Williams. If you guys are in our Patreon, you'll know that there are some dissenting opinions in there, and that's exciting, and that's a good reason to join the Patreon. Also, make sure before you leave, you like and subscribe this video to this channel and like this video, and then drop a comment. Let me know what you think of Caleb Williams because he's not a finished product, and there are definitely still things he has to work on. But from what we've seen as a true sophomore, I think you can make a legitimate argument that he is the best quarterback prospect since Andrew Luck. Go turn on the film. Let me know what you think, or just let me know what you think of Caleb Williams from your live viewings and things like that. So until next time, thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate y'all.